It's on a trailer load of grapes, fresh off the vine from the sunshine state of California. Headed east on 40. And there's Red Bull and Red Man buzzing up a young man, dragging a boat to the southwest coast of Florida. Gets a barracuda. And there's a semi smoking like a steam machine, running hot up a mountain hauling gasoline. Huffing and a puffing, brothers that ain't done.
Welcome back. You just saw this part of a very small portion of it. Man, there's so much that I wish I would have filmed when I was driving on that permit route. You saw a very small portion of that Route 145 that they sent me down in Tennessee, Indiana, and it was it was sketchy at best. The part that I did film was probably the best part of the road, by far the biggest part of the road that I had to work with. Some of it was crazy. I don't think I ever got above 35 mile an hour on there. Now, how I ended up on that road is what I wanted to talk about with this particular load. So last night I showed you, in my last video, I showed you my GPS and how I put permit routes in. And I signed off. I showed you a couple of the routes, and I signed off. Then I finished by putting the rest of my permit route into my GPS. And I got over to. They had me running 64 all the way into Louisville, and then coming down 65. And the best route, straightest route, would have been straight down 231 into Evansville. So in the morning, when I put that in my GPS list, I didn't know if you noticed it last night, but in the bottom corner, it'll tell you if you've added or taken away time and how much you've added. And running that permit route, that added 2.5 hours to my trip. So I was like, man, I'd really like to avoid that. There's stuff I'm trying to get done here, so that I didn't want to waste that 2.5 hours. So I got a hold of my permit office in the morning, this morning, first thing, and I told her what I was looking to do, and she got the Indiana permit like right away. Went right in there, put it everything, got the Indiana permit right away. Kentucky is where it all went bad. They would not let us come in on Route 231. Route 231, Route 41 is also right there. Wouldn't let us come in on 41. That is all crossing the Ohio River, and there's bridges all along through there, and they just didn't want us to cross any of those bridges, apparently. So I got a hold of the permit service that she uses once in a while, and I talked to them. Actually, I don't think it was permit service. I got a hold of our main office, the permit department in our main office. Told them what I was looking to do, and I said, listen, I just need my options. Like, how can I get into Kentucky? I can adjust the Indiana permit for, I think she said it was like $3 to do a revision on that permit. So I said, I can adjust the Indiana, I just need to know how I'm getting into Kentucky. So after a whole bunch of messing around with routes and trying to find it, she found me a way in on Route 69. Kentucky 69, which changes at the border of Indiana. Well, when she said that, I said, yeah, that's fine. I-69's right there. So I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I'll just take I-69 down there. Didn't think that those were two different roads. So she gets that permit, send it to me. I'm trucking along, and the Kentucky permit says Kentucky 69, not I-69. I was already on I-69 at that point, heading down toward Evansville. So there's a scale right there at the border when you cross over into Kentucky, and I definitely didn't want to take that chance being off route. That's a healthy violation, and nobody wants that. So I pulled over. I called her back and I said, have this make sense to me, like, help me out here. So she did, and we figured it out. I had to keep going on 64 East over to the Tell City exit, and I had to come down that way, and which was actually Route 145 to Route 37 to Route 237, and Route 237 turns into I-6 or Kentucky 69 once we cross the river. So I probably should have just taken the permit route I had over to Louisville. By the time I messed around with pulling over, getting on the wrong, getting on I-69, getting turned around to get back up to 64 and run across there and come down that Route 145, I probably had 2.5 hours invested in it. So a couple different things that I wanted to say about it was, number one, if you think there's a better route than what your permit gives you, there's no reason not to ask for it. Most of these states will give you a revision for fairly inexpensive. Some don't. Some make you buy the whole permit over again, and that kind of sucks. And maybe weigh that when you're thinking about it. But for the most part, a lot of these states will just let you revise it. I think Ohio's $10 to revise it, and Indiana was $3 to revise it. So it's pretty cheap to do that. If you find a route you like better, don't hesitate in getting a hold of your permit department and saying, hey, I think this route's a little bit better. I'd like to go that way. And you can do that.
There's a mad redhead drinking double shot black, lipstick on the edge of a Starbucks cup, clothes and shoes in the bed of that truck. Ain't a set of tail lights, she ain't passed, finger out the window, barefoot on the gas. She's hauling ass. Ain't nothing says ain't coming back like that. Feels like I'm sitting still, just a spinning my wheel, stuck in a traffic jam behind a red Trans Am. Dude's only doing 80, chasing after my baby. There goes a Lincoln, a beer train, hopper load of sweet grain, Cadillac, Hugos, guitars, pantyhose. God knows she's driving me crazy. I'm on a 911 highway patrol, report a girl out of missing, running out of control. Tell her to turn her around, or lay them spike strips down. See the get-gone lane, there's a mad redhead drinking double shot black, lipstick on the edge of a Starbucks cup, clothes and shoes in the bed of my truck. Ain't a set of tail lights, she ain't passed, finger out the window, barefoot on the gas. She's hauling ass. Ain't nothing says ain't coming back like that. If they pull me over on the shoulder, it's over. She'll be way too far down them yellow lines. In the get-gone lane. Yeah, in the get-gone lane. Drinking double shot black, lipstick on the edge of that Starbucks cup, clothes and shoes in the bed of my truck. Ain't a set of tail lights, she ain't passed, finger out the window, barefoot on the gas. She's hauling ass, I mean hauling ass. Ain't nothing says ain't coming back like that. Yeah, in the get-gone lane. She's a hauling ass. Sometimes I live my life like a hammered down reckless ride on here.
Good evening, everybody. So, at the end of this video, you will see me talk about the dump truck that I picked up that I got on right now. And I mentioned at the end of the segment that I did when I showed you the load and securement and whatnot, I mentioned that there was something I wanted to talk about with it, and I might film tonight after I got stopped. Now, this day's actually had a few things that are certainly worth bringing up and discussing. This one, the dump truck, not so much. I don't know how many times you run into it, but you might, so worth bringing up. This is a 1993 A35 articulating dump truck, and obviously 1993, this thing has pushed some dirt. It's the batteries are pretty old on it. It needed jumped when I got there to get it on the trailer. They came over and jumped it, and the kid came over, put the jumper cables on it, fired it right up, started up, no problem at all. Was running pretty good. And he said, "Are you good?" I said, "Yeah, I'm good." He said, "Okay, I'll see you later." He took off. Then I went to put the thing in gear, and for the life of me, the thing made me feel stupid because for the life of me, I couldn't figure out how to get the dang thing to go into gear. Like, the gear shift moved, it went into gear, it looked like it was in gear, but it just wouldn't move. What it turned out to be, another group of guys, I called the office and I say, "Hey, can you send somebody back out here and show me how to run this thing? Because apparently I can't figure this out." And turned out that they sent another guy, came over with a side-by-side. He gets out some jumper cables, and I said, "Man, it don't need jumped, it's already running." And he says, "Yeah, but it needs power to put it in gear." Apparently it's an old mechanical motor, and the motor doesn't need the battery to run. So it'll sit there and run without the battery all day long, but none of the dashboard, nothing worked. So they had to put the batteries on it, or put the jumper cables back on it, and then there was a keyway on the side that was supposed to have a key that slides like, it's like a shaft about 2 inches long, and it's got a slit cut in it on an angle. So you put a keyway in there and then turn it, and that locks that thing. It puts a little bit of pressure on a pin in the back, and that allows you to be able to put it in gear. They didn't have one of the keys, but if you got somebody inside and somebody outside, you just push on that thing with a screwdriver and hold it in while they get it in gear. And then once it's in gear, it doesn't matter. You can drive it all, you let go, and it'll drive all day long. So that was a little tricky thing that I've never seen before. That definitely gonna tuck in my bag of sneaky little tricks to get me out of situations. So worth mentioning, if you're ever picking one of these up and it doesn't want to go into gear, right there by the battery box, there's that little keyway thing. So something good to know.
Hairpin midnight curves, no moon and no headlights, rain soaked and slippery. So here's my second part of today. I did my delivery earlier, you saw that. This is my pickup. Picking up a Volvo. This thing is a 1993 Volvo A35 articulating dump truck, and she's a diamond in the rough, let me tell you. So I'm gonna real quick here because I got to get on the road. I'm trying to get out of this traffic. I'll show you the load. We're at a Ritchie Brothers auction, picking this thing up. It's pretty windy, so hopefully you'll be able to hear me. There's our truck right there. It's a fine looking unit. This poor thing has seen, but I wonder how much dirt this thing has moved in its life. Probably a lot. Anyway, securement on this thing weighs about 59,000 pounds, they're telling me. So I got 3 chains back here. I X right off of those lugs. Right off the lugs inside there. I X there. Got our flag on the outside of the wheel, making sure I put all 4 of them on this time because we're going into Ohio. So I couldn't find a brace for the articulation, so I had to put a chain in. This is that chain.
this one side, through the center, back to the other side. If you notice here, I got the outrigger boards out because it's got a flat tire on the other side and it's pretty wide, so it seemed like it was best to put the outrigger boards out. But anyways, the very ends of these boards, you can kind of see that tire there is on the end, and that one's on the end of that board. So I was worried about the center of these boards moving around. You can see they wiggle quite a bit. So I ended up just grabbing a bungee cord, hooking a bungee cord around the board, just kind of holding it in there. I don't think it's going to go anywhere with just a little bit holding it. Here's our other flag on the back tire. 2 X chains in the back. Ended up having to get my clevises out because these holes right here, those holes right there weren't big enough for the chain hook to go through. So signed and flagged on the back. Here's the other side here. Same thing, flagged up. I ended up having to fold those mirrors in up there because they were a little bit wider than the body itself, so they folded in pretty easy. I did the same thing with bungee cords on this side, holding the boards in. This is our flat tire right there. Had me a little worried, but I think we got it now. I don't think it'll be an issue. Flag on that side. Anyways, that's our baby. It's going up to Ohio. A couple goofy things about this that I'd like to talk about, but I'm not going to do it right now. So whenever I get stopped tonight, I'll talk a little bit about the goofy parts of this load. It had a couple weird things, but worth knowing for sure. You know, 59,000 pounds, couldn't put it anywhere else. Like, that's it. That's the only option for it. It's crammed in there pretty good. So hopefully our axle weights are right. We're gonna find out in a minute. I'm gonna jump on the road and kind of get out of this traffic quick as I can here. I'm in Tennessee right now and I'm going into Kentucky. Both of those states will let me run in the dark, so that helped me out a little bit. The permit route that I had coming in, you saw some of that earlier on in the video. The permit route I had coming down here to Kentucky was just absolutely terrible. So I lost some time there, and now I'm fighting daylight, or I thought I was fighting daylight, but then I realized that Tennessee and Kentucky will let me run in the dark. So I'm gonna get on out of here, and I'll film a little bit more tonight. Stay safe out there. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I hope you all have a great night, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
We ride across these plains and prairies, Rocky Mountain highs, fade off into the